Hey guys, welcome back to the Homestead Nation. We have Pastor Joe Fox back here with us again. We appreciate you coming back on the Homestead Nation. Why don't you start out by telling us a little bit more about Shofar Mountains, what you have going on up there, and how many people do you have? How big do you expect to get?
Yeah, so we don't go into numbers. That's like an OPSEC thing. But we have families who live here on the land. I think Brad asked me this maybe in the interview that didn't get posted, how big can you go? We can get really as big as God wants us to be. We have a lot of property out here. And so I don't have a top end for how big we're going to go. Our goal is just to gather people who are, number one, focused on, a more obedient and a deeper relationship with God. And then two, want to live like we live here. And so we have the people who live on the land. We don't have a different name for them. We're all Shofarians. And then we have people who live within a mile. We have several families who have moved here to the area within about a mile of us. And the reason they did that is because what we're doing here is rough. I mean, right now I'm lit by these oil lamps here, and I have to go outside and get rainwater and heat it up on this turkey fryer to take a bath over here in this bathtub, you know. And so people understandably don't want to live like that when there's a house a quarter mile away from here that has electricity and flush toilets, and high-speed internet. Life is good, and they're still here. They're still in the area, but to support that lifestyle, they need real jobs, and so they have real jobs. But they hang out here all the time. We get together definitely every Friday and Saturday here. We get together most Sundays here, and then usually during the week, the people who don't live here, on the land, are here usually on Tuesday or Wednesday night for a afternoon dinner, talk after dinner, informal, just hanging out. And so those people we call Shofarians. And I tell people, if you want to be a Shofarian, be a Shofarian, because we have acquaintances and friends who come here. Sometimes they come here just for church or something like that. And sometimes you get the feeling that they feel a little bit left out, because they're not in the clique. It's like, well, if you want to be in the clique, be in the clique, but you got to be here, so that's how that works.
Fair enough. So, what do you guys do as far as organizing events to get the whole group together, to train the whole group so you're all on the same topic and everybody has their own thing that they can participate in and be an expert on?
Okay, so what we do is every Sunday we have classes. They're open to Shofarians, and so the Shofarians know about it, and they all come here, and we do a variety of things. We have kind of a list of training events that we want to cover. We don't talk about all of them, but I'll tell you what we did this Sunday. We had a class on, do you know what NLP is? Neuro-linguistic programming. It's like body language on steroids. And so we had a class on neuro-linguistic programming, and we went through some exercises with people, interviewing people, being interviewed, that kind of thing. It's really interesting. You should look it up, NLP. It used to be kind of like woo-woo, and people didn't know about it, and now you can take seminars on it and stuff. But it's just a good way to establish rapport. That's why we're doing it, because we can foresee a time when there's a huge breakdown, and we've got to go into places and establish rapport to get stuff done. We'd like to trade you some goats for some corn. Well, how do you do that? Without getting shot.
Well, that's a great point, and that's something I haven't heard any other groups really spending time on. You might be one of a few that are actually doing it, and I can see where it would be helpful.
Yeah, well, it's something I used to do in the Army. Go to far off, distant lands, meet fascinating, interesting people, and then convert them to your way or neutralize them. You're either on our side or you're not. And then we have some other people here who have similar experiences, and one of them has actually has a recent course background and used to teach it. And so it's like, hey, yeah, I'll teach this stuff. And so that's what we did. And then we have range days, and we have days on how to can and butcher and homestead things. But we try to do a class every Sunday afternoon, and then what we do before that is we get together for a big group work project. And we try to design projects that either everybody can do, or we split it where the men are doing like some hard, horrible thing and the women are doing something else. And we don't always do them just here. We also do these work days at the other surrounding homes around here. Like, if you were part of the Shofarians and you were living off here, but you needed a new roof, or you needed a carport put up or something like that, we'll just schedule that in. We'll all show up, and you have, a good handful of people working on that, and it gets done.
So I've heard of other groups that will actually designate kind of a committee head for a particular, let's say gardening, or let's say canning, or let's say hunting or food preparation, that sort of thing. And then they have an alternate set aside that also learns that skill. So if something were to happen to the head of the committee, the alternate's there to teach the rest of the group. So the idea is that you have two people put in place on any one particular subject that then goes around and teaches the rest of the group. How do you guys do that up at Chaparral Mountain?
Exactly.
And what do you guys do when it comes to organizing different groups within the group?
Okay, that's a great question. Usually what we do is we identify that we need to have a subject matter expert on something. And sometimes we have that, or sometimes we have someone who's interested in being that person. And sometimes we don't have it. We don't have anyone who's necessarily interested in it, but we know we need it. And it's like, okay, you need to go get trained on this. Example, not directly related to this group, but it is now. I was trained in some pretty high speed medical techniques because of what I did in the military. And but my wife wasn't. She didn't know anything other than Brownie Girl Scouts first aid. And so I said, you know what, we need some more medical skills in this family. And she's like, why? You know how to do all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, what if I'm the one who's laying on the ground horribly injured? And so we got her to join my volunteer fire department that I was a member of. And then they sent her to become an EMT. And then she worked as an EMT. And so now my wife has EMT medical skills, which is pretty good. It's Sister Kate, she's an EMT. And so she is the head doctor, here at Chaparral Mountain. But she just gave a class a couple weeks ago on first aid, and we went over just, what do we do if we have a grievous chainsaw cut, across an arm? How do we stop the bleeding, treat for shock? How are we going to transport that person? Because the ambulance can't get down there to where we are. So what are we going to do about that? Somebody's going to go up here and direct traffic. And so, we go over all those kinds of things. It's not just your, direct pressure and elevation kind of thing.
So do you have plans on getting other alternates or maybe kids in the group involved?
Well, we have this great idea. Right now, we're just taking the subject matter experts and they're teaching everybody. We have this idea, our community has to get bigger and our children have to get a little older, because right now we don't have any teenager children. But we have this idea where we'll take the teenager children, maybe 12 if they're mature, and assign them to the subject matter experts, if you will, for like 2 weeks at a time. And so a kid, let's say, will help out the chicken person, the chicken rancher. We have a chicken rancher. They'll help out the goat herd. They'll help out the EMT. They'll help out in the kitchen, boys and girls. They'll help out here. And so they'll do like a rotation where they work with everybody. And then based on what that young person is interested in, where their aptitude is, then we'd like to start an apprentice program. And so then we actually assign them to this adult, for a period of time, months, where they become like the apprentice to that person, and kind of bring the old craft apprentice system back here, what we're doing. So we're looking at doing that. We're not there yet.
Well, Pastor Joe, we're going to stop it there for now. We have lots more to go, and we're going to air other parts of this interview in a different episode. But we appreciate you coming by, hanging out, dropping some knowledge on us about Chaparral Mountains and some of the, what I think are truly advanced things that you're doing up there in your group. And I know that many of us can definitely learn from what you're doing up there. So thanks for sticking around with us and dealing with all of our technical issues. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys know who Pastor Joe Fox is, and I know you know that he's over at Viking Preparedness. If you're not a subscriber already, do yourself a favor, go over and check out his channel. He really does speak a lot of sense and he drops a lot of knowledge and he makes a lot of sense. I'm going to leave it at that. Pastor Joe, we will see you soon, okay, brother? Over and out.